Hello and welcome. I finally have some time to sit down and do a good old, chatty get ready with me style video. So I'm going to actually start applying my makeup because at some point I also need to get to work. I'm going to start off as usual with my Inglot eyeshadow primer. Last week, after I got back from holidays, I was really doing my best to get the I Need a Nude palette video out for you, like the two videos that I was planning, the review as well as the comparison swatches to my Pat McGrath palettes. And then I got sick on top of that, so I really didn't have time to just, sit down, chat, tell you about my holidays before I forget what it was like to be on holiday. And I also have some new makeup products that I wanted to share with you, and I have tried most of them by now. And I think today we're going to try the final two products that I still have not tried at all, but one thing at a time. So a lot of you have so kindly asked how my holiday has been, and honestly my holiday was absolutely fabulous. There's really no other way to say it. I'm going to take the Estee Lauder Double Wear Nude Foundation, as I mentioned also in my I Need a Nude video. This is the current shade of foundation that I can use primarily because I'm a little bit more tan. I'm so glad that they've never reformulated it, they've never changed it. It's just as glorious as the first day I tried it. This is the shade 3N1. I usually wear 2N1, and this is just one shade up, and I think it fits me pretty okay for the time being. It's already been a little over a week since I, was in the sun, so I think my tan is going to start fading pretty soon. I can already tell that it's getting like slightly maybe darker for me, so I'll have to start mixing it. But it's always a good time having this foundation on. Anyway, I was going to talk about my holidays. So my holidays were absolutely glorious. We basically tried to replicate what we did last year, but then better. And our holiday last year was, I don't even know how to describe to you the feeling that I had after last year's holiday. And the feeling that I had after last year's holiday was also mainly because it had been 4 years since we had been on holiday prior to that, because we were on holiday in 2018 when I was 7 months pregnant. Then I had a baby. Then in 2019 we didn't really go on holiday, and thank goodness we didn't, because we did go somewhere with Nicola when he was 9 months, and we still regret it to this day. It was one of the worst ideas ever to go somewhere with a newborn, especially when you have a shitty newborn like Nicola. Nicola was not a cooperative baby. I am taking the Lancome Tainted Doll concealer in the shade 1. And then obviously in 2020 and 2021 no one was really going on holiday. So for the first time in 4 years, in 2022 we went on holiday, and we went to a resort in Bulgaria, one of my favorite resorts there. And we went to like an all-inclusive hotel. We were at the beach for like 9 whole days, and it was the most refreshed I had felt in years. Like I needed it. I didn't realize how badly I needed a holiday like that. And this whole year between 2022 and 2023, we just kind of had this idea that we wanted to replicate what we did the year before, but even better, because the hotel where we stayed last year, while it was fine, was an older hotel that had clearly been it was a hotel that was built during communist times, and it was clearly, upgraded to be a little bit better quality, but it was so dated. Like they still had carpets everywhere, and the bathroom was clearly quite dated. And every day when we were passing from our hotel towards like the more central part of the resort, we would go past this other hotel, which was clearly much newer, much more modern, and slightly more expensive. And we figured, you know what, next year it's where we're going. Let me quickly set everything with the Airbrush Flawless, whatever this is called, finish powder from Charlotte Tilbury. So we did. We booked our hotel very early on already in January, and till the last moment I was just hoping that everything will go right, no one will get sick, no one will have an emergency, and we will be able to go. And we did. And honestly, it was every bit as wonderful as I had expected. Something that I forgot to mention is that last year we've been going on holiday with my parents for the past like 6-7 years or so, because it's a really good opportunity for me to spend some more time with them. You know, they're not getting any younger, and especially now with Nicola, it's one of the few opportunities they have to spend so much time with their grandson. So we went on holiday together last year, and we also went on holiday together this year. And if you don't know anything about Bulgaria, Bulgaria is actually not a very tiny country. By comparison, the Netherlands is twice smaller. And I come from the capital of the country, which is Sofia, which is on the western side of the country. And then if you want to go to the beach, which is the whole eastern border of the country, which is the Black Sea, you have to travel cross-country. And towards the south, there is a really nice highway, and you can get there in like 4 hours or so. But towards the north, where we were going, the highway stops at some point, and then you have to go through like smaller roads. And that meant we were in the car for over 7 hours to get to the resort. For bronzer, I'm going to take my beautiful Gucci bronzer. So we arrived in Sofia, we stayed there for a few days. I got the opportunity to watch Oppenheimer. I really enjoyed Oppenheimer. I don't know that it's necessarily a movie that I would recommend to watch in the cinema, especially if you don't like Nolan style or like long movies, because this is like over 3 hours long. I personally really enjoyed it, but I didn't really feel like after the movie. I thought I could have perfectly fine watched this movie at home, you know, on my screen, being able to like stop here and there and maybe like look up things, because obviously it's the story of how the United States was at the forefront of making the atomic bomb, with the lead Robert Oppenheimer on the Manhattan Project. Anyway, it's a story you can read about, you can look up. I've read books about it, and I knew the main line of the story, but honestly I didn't really know much about Oppenheimer himself. So it was a very interesting movie to watch. I really enjoyed it. I did not mind that it was 3 hours long. I never really do, unless it's a boring movie, which I didn't really find this to be a boring movie, but that's because I really like the topic. Anyway, so we watched Oppenheimer almost immediately when we arrived, and then we set out to the sea. And my husband and my dad sort of like split driving between the two of them. And I found out that my dad should not be trusted to drive for a long time anymore. Like, I didn't realize how much he has, you know, in a certain way aged in the past like 5 or 6 years. Because last year when we drove to the beach, my husband had to drive all the way back and forth because my dad had had surgery on his Achilles heel and he couldn't drive. And then prior to that, he was able to drive for like 6-7 hours with like a little break in between. But like now, this year, I finally realized that my dad is not at the age anymore where he can do that. First of all, he's retired already for several years. He's 72, by the way. He takes regular afternoon naps every day, and he doesn't drive anymore. Like, my parents don't really drive anywhere unless it's to do big groceries, so that's like twice a month or so. For the rest of the time, they go by the subway, by public transport, they go on long walks. So yeah, we had a couple of moments where I was like, this could have easily been an accident. So I forbade my dad to drive long distances like this anymore. Also, I just realized that I forgot to do my brows, so I'm going to take my Too Faced laminating brow wax. Anyway, we finally got to the beach, and I was going to say that the hotel turned out to be amazing. We went again for an all-inclusive deal. I don't know whether you're familiar with the concept, but basically you have all the food, drinks, snacks, everything is arranged. All you have to do is roll out of bed, go eat, go to the beach or the swimming pool, whatever floats your boat, then go eat again, then either go back to the beach or go back to your hotel room, which is what we were doing. We went to take naps every day in the afternoon, and then roll out of your bed again and go eat. Literally think of nothing else. And we had like a first line hotel, so that's literally like you cross the street and you're at the beach. And the hotel itself had swimming, like an infinity pool, like on the roof, which I had never experienced before, and it was absolutely amazing. They also had an indoor swimming pool, which was like a tropical swimming pool, so the temperature in the water was really, really like so warm and so relaxing. It felt like a spa. and outside there was the sea. Now the sea was quite rough the first few days after we arrived. I think there had just been a major storm, and honestly I've never seen the Black Sea have such like huge waves before. Maybe in the winter, but like in the summer I'd never seen waves like this before. It literally looks like a freaking ocean. So then we had to wait a few days until the sea calms down. So then we spent those days at the swimming pools. The little dude obviously loved the tropical swimming pool, and by comparison everything else became just way too cold. Okay, I'm going to interrupt myself now though, because I want to talk about one of the new products that I have picked up, and that is surprisingly one of the new limited edition blushes from Chanel. I don't know that I've really cared much for a luxury brand limited edition release before, but Chanel has really gotten me this year. So these blushes are a fall release, as you can also see from the little cute box that the blush came in. Obviously just the attention to detail with like the little leaves on the sides already puts me in the most glorious fall mood. The actual component is very standard, like black lacquer packaging with the Chanel logo. Personally I think it's very classy, very much fitting the Chanel aesthetic. And the color that I picked up is 797, which is this absolutely beautiful pumpkin-y terracotta shade. And I wanted to show it to you up close and personal because I really love the little embossing they have on the blush with the little like autumn leaves. Doesn't that put you immediately in the mood for like lighting candles and eating pumpkin soup? And obviously the Chanel logo in this like slightly more like beige colored powder. I think it's beautiful, and it was really mostly the color that spoke to me of this blush, because I have an obsession with like pumpkin-y, bronzy, orangey terracotta kind blushes. I think they just really suit my skin tone, and as soon as I saw this I was like, oh my gosh, I don't actually think I have anything that's quite like this shade. I have a lot of other shades that lean a bit more red or a bit more, yeah, basically a bit more red, like Paradise Venus from Pat McGrath leans more red. Soft Red from Gucci is a bit more like a chili pepper. This is truly like a more desaturated, deeper orange shade, and I absolutely love it. It is glorious. So let me put it on my cheeks right now. The formula is a matte, but like the kind of matte that looks very flattering on the skin. They're not uber pigmented, but they're also not super gently pigmented, so you do need to be careful to not over apply. And I think the formula is very flattering. I think it blurs the skin a little bit, and the color is really glorious, as you can tell. Hopefully you can tell. Anyway, going back to the holidays, the food at the hotel was really exceptional. The personnel was very friendly, and they were uber friendly as soon as they realized we were Bulgarians, because I think it's usually foreigners that tend to stay in this hotel. And we just had an absolutely amazing time. I managed to go through 2 books while we were there. I really like to take the opportunity when I'm on summer holiday like this to read books. Like, it's not like I don't read books the rest of the time, but most of the time in my normal life, the only time I really have to like sit down and quietly read a book is before I go to bed in the evening. So a lot of the times I'm too tired, I can't really focus for more than like 2-3 pages at a time, so it takes me ages to read books like that, and I really like to take the opportunity when I go on holiday to read books. So I went through 2 of them by an author whose name is, I want to say, Connie Wills. So here is the blush, by the way, and I'm just going to quickly swatch this for you, compared to my beloved Soft Red from Gucci, because when I first saw the blush I thought, nah, I don't know if I'm going to buy this because I think it's too much like Soft Red, but honestly I don't think they're similar. This is so much more like a pumpkin orange. Let me give them a quick swatch. I know I'm all over the place right now, hopping between topics all the time, but I just, you know, want to also mention the makeup. So here you've got Soft Red. Soft Red has so much more like those coral but slightly chili peppery tones to it, and this is so much more, you know, desaturated, slightly more neutral in tone, but still leaning on that beautiful peachy orange territory. I absolutely love this Chanel blush. The other release that I'm waiting for, but it may turn out that I'm waiting in vain, is their extra large highlighters with like the different types of embossings on them. Rumor has it they're not at all coming to Europe and the UK, and maybe not even to the US, but according to Charlotte, Chanel always does this and they always come, so I don't really know what to believe anymore. I am going to take the Skin Fetish Sublime Trio highlighter from Pat McGrath to highlight. So the two books that I read are in the sci-fi genre because my husband really likes to read exclusively sci-fi, and before we went on holiday I basically was like, please choose a book for me that is extremely immersive. Like, I don't have time to read 100 pages before getting into a book. I need to be into it like almost immediately. And then he recommended a novel from Connie Wills called Blackout. And I can tell you from now, if you read Blackout, you'll have to read the book that comes after that, which is called All Clear, because if you only were to read Blackout, you would never know how the story ends. The two are basically like one big storyline, but separated into different books. And without giving away too many spoilers, just in case you decide to read the book for yourself, it is a time travel concept, but probably not quite the way you think. It is set in 2060, when time travel has been invented, and Oxford historians use the opportunity to travel back in time, and they, you know, have specific rules about which eras you can visit and which are deemed too dangerous to visit, and they observe basically events. They try to be as little involved in the events as possible because you don't want to change the course of history by being there, although is it? I'm not going to give away too much besides this, but they basically go back in time, they observe things, and then they go back. And Blackout and All Clear are set in World War II, and I really love the topic of World War II, so that's amazing. And what I really loved about the book is that it's this beautiful blend of a very interesting storyline, which makes you care a lot about the characters. Like, she has this way of creating these characters that you become instantly attached to. Obviously the setting, I love the setting of the Second World War, and the third component that I really liked was it was like a half history lesson, but not the history lesson that you would normally get at school, like, oh, this year this happened and this year that happened and Winston Churchill did this and France did this and Hitler did this. No, it was more about the people and the small things during the Second World War that I would never have known about because they're not really written down in history books. I'm going to quickly set my makeup with Fix Plus on my sponge here. So Blackout and All Clear are set during 1940 London, during the Blitz. And I'll be honest with you, before reading the books, I didn't really know what the Blitz was. That's apparently the bombings that the Germans performed on England during the beginning stages of World War II in an attempt to, you know, subdue England. But they didn't. And one of the things that I learned from this book is what an amazing spirit the Brits had during this whole thing. Like, they were constantly being bombed. There was no guarantee that anyone like you or your family was going to ever make it alive day by day, but they had this amazing spirit. For example, you would think that purchasing luxury goods from Selfridges would be an absolute non-priority if you're being bombed, but no. The stores remained open, people kept purchasing things just to spite Hitler. And I didn't really know about that like mindset that the Brits had, and it was just very interesting. Alright, you're a little bit more zoomed in now because I'm going to start doing my eye makeup. And the first thing I'm going to do is grab something that is not new. This is my signature eye quad from Victoria Beckham in the shade... Oh no, it's called Signature, that's the name of the quad. And I'm just going to like make a little mix of the neutrals here through my crease and outer corner, and then I'm going to show you something new that I picked up from Dior. I'm just starting with the light beige shade from Victoria Beckham to just put that through my crease, and I'm going to lightly mix it, actually, just very lightly, with this one over here to create a bit more depth in the crease because this shade is quite light. I can only highly recommend going to a really high quality all-inclusive hotel because it is the most relaxing type of holiday you can ever imagine, honestly. When people talk to me about, you know, we can rent a little house and we can cook for ourselves, I'm like, what part of that is a holiday? Are you insane? If you go on holiday somewhere where you rent a house, that means you need to clean the house, you need to think about what you're going to eat 3 times a day, and you need to buy it, you need to cook it, and no part of that sounds like a relaxing holiday to me. So we have been thoroughly enjoying doing these all-inclusive type hotel deals. Obviously you need to go to like a really good all-inclusive hotel, but if you do, I promise you, you're going to have the absolute most amazing time. You're going to switch off like nobody's business. In terms of makeup, you've probably seen quite a few of the looks that I posted when I was on holiday, and I basically used everything that I took with me. Like I showed on my Instagram stories what I had taken with me, and I basically used all of the items that I had taken with me except for the 2 glosses. I took 2 lip glosses last minute, and I knew that was a mistake. I should not have taken them. I basically just wore my lipsticks. Now I'm going to take a little pencil brush and just going into this strip here with the darkest shade, and I'm going to do my usual thing, which is my winged out liner shape here in the base of my lashes to create a bit of definition. And that was basically our holiday. Then we returned to Sofia for 2 days. We didn't really do anything special. I went shopping with my mom, which was really enjoyable. I love going shopping with my mom. She has excellent taste. And then we came back to the Netherlands. And to be honest with you, this past week, because I was sick and I just enjoyed our holiday so much, I've been having a little bit of a hard time starting up at work again. I feel very out of it. And I'll really need to like snap back into it, because the fall months are going to be absolute insanity at work. I will also have to do quite a bit of traveling, which is not my favorite, but unfortunately it needs to happen, which also means that in September and October in particular, I'm not sure how much time I will have to film. Hopefully you won't really notice, but just a fair warning that it might be that I have other obligations at work and I don't have that much time to film. Alright, you might be like super tired of seeing me do neutral looks, because lately I've been doing a lot of neutral looks, and especially now with the I Need a Nude, basically that's all we did, like neutral looks. But I bought an eyeshadow from Dior, so I was in store the other day, just like minding my own business, swatching things. And then I laid eyes on the Dior like mono eyeshadows, the single eyeshadows, and I was like, I've literally never even noticed that they existed before, but there was one specific eyeshadow that caught my eye because it seemed to have the most amazing texture to it. And the eyeshadow in question that I ended up buying on sale, because these are ridiculously expensive. I think the original price was 45 euros or something like that. I bought it for 30. This is the shade Beige Mitzah 658. I keep wanting to call it Bar Mitzvah. It's not Bar Mitzvah, it's called Beige Mitzah, and it's this eyeshadow. And first of all, the texture of this eyeshadow is something that I cannot describe to you. You have to go and like put your finger in it when you're in store. And second of all, I adore the color. I decided to swatch the eyeshadow, go home and compare it to everything that might be similar in my collection before I purchased this, because I wanted to make sure that it's not a neutral that I already have, but it is the most amazingly beautiful like light brown taupe with a slightly pink undertone to it. And I can tell you, it's not like any of the eyeshadows that I currently own in my collection. I think there's only one eyeshadow that reminds me of this quite a bit, Grandstand from Makeup Geek, but I don't own Grandstand anymore. I gave all of my single eyeshadows away, or like most of them. Not all of them, but most of them. I don't really have anything from Makeup Geek anymore, so unfortunately I can't really tell you whether this is the same eyeshadow, but for sure it's a different formula and a different texture, and it's like a freaking cream, and it is so smooth and so beautiful, and I haven't actually worn it yet, so I really wanted to share that with you. I am going to apply a tiny bit of the Intensifies stick from Pat McGrath, just because I want this eyeshadow to have as much bling as possible. It's a metallic eyeshadow, it's not a glittery eyeshadow, but I am going to put a bit of something glittery over top that is also new, that you haven't seen yet. And I actually think I'm just going to use my finger to apply this eyeshadow, because I just like touching it. Sometimes with makeup, it's such a tactile experience for me that I like applying these eyeshadows with my fingers, just because of how much I enjoy touching them with my fingers. What I like about this eyeshadow is that it has the like brown taupe base, but it also has a little bit of like almost like a cool tone silvery sheen to it, so it does create a little bit of light on your lids. It is beautiful. I just love the texture. It is so elegant, so smooth, so creamy. And it is a really pretty color. Very unique color. I just realized that I had a plan for my inner corners because of the shirt that I'm wearing. So let me do that before we execute the rest of the look and I forget about it again. I'm going to grab this extremely old palette that I have from Colourpop, which is in the shade Just My Luck. Remember when they were making these monochromatic type palettes? And I'm going to take this shade here because it's the shade that I have kept the whole palette for, and I'm going to show that in my inner corners because it fits with my shirt so well. I'm just going to go over top of the shade that I laid down from Dior because I don't think it will make a difference, but it will just be like a little pop of green in my inner corners here. And I think it's also going to like give a really interesting effect to the look, like straddling the line between warm and cool tone, because the shadow from Dior is like relatively cool toned, neutral to cool toned, and the shade from the Colourpop palette is definitely on the warmer side. Alright, and I mentioned that there's something else new that I haven't quite shown you yet, and those are my new Lisa Eldridge liquid lurex eyeshadows. I bought the shades Emily, Anais and Zora because I wanted to basically have the interesting shifty neutrals. So I'm going to quickly swatch them all for you. Let me remove the shadow from Dior from the back of my hand so that we can do some quick swatches. So this is the shade Emily, which is like a taupe shade loaded with sparkle. Again, it's one of those where you have to like blend it out a bit to really be able to tell the sparkle. Really beautiful. I did wear this eyeshadow already once and I really enjoyed it. I had the look posted a couple of days ago with my Lancome quint and like a blue lower lash line. I will try to actually insert the look somewhere here so you can see it. Then I wore the shade Anais the other day, again with my Lancome quint. I had missed my Lancome quint so much. Out of all the makeup, the first thing that I wanted to dip back into was my Lancome quint. Anais is like a sage green loaded with sparkle. All of these are her like super sparkly eyeshadows. I wanted to have the sparkly ones because I intend to use them as toppers. So this is the shade Anais. It is gorgeous as well, and I wore this over top of the olive green from the quint. Glorious. And what I wanted to do today is use this shade, the shade Zora, which is a gorgeous like sort of like warmer brown loaded with sparkle, what looks like purpley sparkle actually. So the idea is that I will try to apply a little bit of this shade Zora over top of the shade from Chanel, but as a very light layer, not to take away from the Chanel eyeshadow, of the Dior eyeshadow too much. And in order to do that, I actually really like to use a brush. So I'm going to take a little bit of the eyeshadow, apply here on the back of my hand like this, and then I pick it up with the brush and I spread it across my lids in order to sheer it out, so that it applies more like a thin layer of sparkle rather than opaque color. And I'm going to put that all over the shade from Dior. I'm going to shine on artificial light because again, it's early morning, there's no direct sunlight or anything of the sorts. And I think I'm going to do a little pop of green again because I would like to, you know, play a bit more up on that green that I have in the inner corner. Oh, by the way, I'm taking just like a good old liner from Essence. Take a little pencil brush and use the same palette that I showed you from Inglot when I was doing my I Need a Nude video, but I'm going to take the deeper green now and apply that on my lower lashes as my little lower lash line green moment. Obviously this look would be beautifully complemented by just the browns from the Victoria Beckham palette, and you could altogether skip the whole green moment, but you know that I love adding these like pops of color to my looks. The little sparkle moment so that you can see the glitter in the liquid lurex eyeshadow from Eldridge. I hope you can see it. So this is the complete look. I don't know that the Chanel blush necessarily goes very well with what's going on my eyes, but I just really wanted to show it to you. I decided that the perfect finishing touch to this look would be Meet Me in Berlin from Eldridge, a beautiful 90s brown. I don't know what you guys think. I thought either this or Sorcery. I think both of them would have worked really nicely, but after all that talking, I just needed something creamy on my lips. Anywho, I hope you enjoyed this super rambly and as usual all over the place video, especially when I have things to talk about besides the makeup. I tend to jump between things, and sometimes when I edit I think, oh my gosh, how can anyone ever follow my train of thought? But hopefully you can. Hopefully this video was enjoyable to you. Let me know what you think about the products that I used. Do you have any of them? What do you think about them? I'm specifically interested if anyone has experience with these little Dior eyeshadows, because this is just glorious. I'm not going to go and buy the whole range or anything. I just thought this one special color is very interesting to me and I'm very glad to have it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and I will see you in my next video. Bye!